Hi everyone, welcome back to a new episode of Little Shop of Nerds. I'm Julia,
Mike, what's up?
and here is Noelle. She's also joining us today. So last week's hint was teenage girls are dangerous, Jonathan. They're full of emotional violence and vituperation.
Wow, you give me crap about my pronunciation.
Hey, I just listened to it. Vituperation is the word.
Okay.
So, we watched this movie is a little different from what we have been watching and from what we have been talking about
Today we're going to be talking about this movie that came out,
last year.
2024.
Last year. It's called Miller's Girl.
Yes, it's got the guy from pretty much from the Hobbit movies. And,
Martin Short.
It's Martin Freeman.
Martin Freeman, there we go, yeah.
Martin Short is a Canadian.
Okay, it's got Martin Freeman. I know was in there somewhere. And then it had Jenna Ortega.
Which you might know her from her roles from Wednesday and Beetlejuice. And Martin Freeman, you might know him from The Hobbits as Bilbo Baggins, or from the British version of The Office, or from Marvel.
Yeah, so this movie is a little different from what we normally talk about because this one is a little bit more provocative than what we have been watching in the past.
Provocative, more like mostly soft.
Softcore corn.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is. Nothing hard about it.
Yeah, so I actually suggested to Mike to watch this movie.
Sucks.
He hates it. I enjoyed it a little bit. Rotten Tomatoes hates it too. I'm sorry, I cannot keep a straight face about this movie because it was just the content. So let's just get into it.
Alright, it opens with
Her name is Cairo Sweet in the movie.
Opens with Kyra. Pretty much, she's a rich girl who lives in a big house, walking to school that is in the woods.
Yeah, she lives by herself because her parents live abroad. Apparently, they're lawyers. And they live abroad, so she lives in the house by herself.
Yeah.
She walks to school by herself, all that.
Yeah, I see that house. I'm like, lawyers, what they defend? O.J. Simpson or P. Diddy? What the fuck?
So so she goes to school, and I think it's the beginning of a new school year or a new term or something, because she goes into a new classroom, and she puts her stuff down. She's the first one there. She's like an hour early. And she goes in and she meets Mr. Miller, Jonathan Miller, which is her teacher.
And one thing you need to know about Jonathan Miller, he's a writer.
He's only written one book, though, called something in ampersands.
Either way, it's his only book. No one, I think, bought it or whatever. And he's asking what she was doing here. She was new. Told her she was early, and they just talked. He's pretty much looking at her like the books that she checked out, and pretty much he's
pretty impressed by her choices of books.
Yeah, she goes, and the gym
coach.
Yeah,
coach for the baseball team,
but also a math teacher too.
Physics teacher.
Yeah, and I'm like,
they do that in some small schools.
I know. I'm like, okay, but but there's some small schools they just do one.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, my gym teacher was my homeroom teacher when I was in middle school.
I do know my health teacher. His dad was the gym teacher.
Yeah. So, I mean, depending on what kind of school you go to, like if it's a small like school, you'll have like they'll have like a coach that would also be a teacher and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just for because the girls volleyball coach was also a math teacher at my school. So
well, either way, they're going through her stuff. I'm like,
yeah, because she's not there because she went off with her friend Winnie, which I thought Winnie looked older than 18.
She looks like she looks like a 25-year-old coming off a bender.
Well, I mean, when Jenna Ortega filmed this movie, she was 22. And she was playing an 18-year-old.
Yeah, that's different.
But to me, the girl that played Winnie looked like she was much older.
That's what I'm talking about.
Than 18. She looked like she was pretty old. I was
like that's what I'm talking about. Winnie looks like a 25-year-old off of a bender.
Yeah. So
and Jenny Ortega, she just looks like she's in her teens.
Yeah. So, anyways, so they, Cairo and Winnie went off to do something. The gym teacher, the coach, and Mr. Miller was looking through her stuff. And
yeah, great teachers, by the way. I'm like,
I think he was just trying to see what kind of books that she was reading, because I guess one of the books that she had was something by Henry Miller, which they're not allowed to teach at the school because of the material in it.
Yeah,
it's basically corn.
Yeah, so, corn.
Yeah, so
damn YouTube guidelines.
Yeah. So they go off. He finds out that she's a writer. And he finds out that Cairo is a writer. And he starts to give her, like, as the movie progresses, he starts to give her preferential treatment because he wants to he wanted to nurture her talent at writing. And Cairo was trying to figure out, like, what her greatest accomplishment to date would be. And she's like, I just got a 4.6 GPA. I'm going to be valedictorian. She's like, basically run-of-the-mill basic shit. And she's like, I want something that's going to make me stand out for my essay. And then that's when Winnie had talked about this at school, but she's like, why don't you seduce Mr. Miller? Because Winnie was planning on seducing the coach, Mr. Fillmore. She was going to seduce him and then basically have sex with him, and she wanted Cairo to do the same thing with Mr. Miller.
Yeah, and this is what I have to say. Why would you do that crap? And truth be told, and I'm going to say this, no teen should ever do that.
But I mean,
to cover
definitely up. Students definitely shouldn't, even if they're 18, definitely shouldn't be having relations with their teachers. But she is 18.
Yeah, I know it's, I get, but before we get into more trouble, what you're saying, but still, she's still in high school, which is a big no-no.
Yes, I get that, but
I know.
If you tell an 18-year-old not to do something, they're gonna do it.
Yeah, but wait till what she fucking does, which is
she turns into a psychopath, and so
psychopath.
Yeah, so then they start going out and doing stuff together, like Mr. Miller and Cairo, like they went to a poetry reading together. They've been spending time outside of class hours together, like in the mornings, because she'll bring them like coffee and stuff like that. And she helped Winnie get Mr. Fillmore's number by saying, "Hey, why don't you bake these muffins?" Because he makes these muffins and brings them every morning. She's like,
"I thought they were biscuits."
Oh yeah, biscuits. Yeah, they look like muffins, but it's like these biscuits. Bring them, cook up a bunch of them and sell them to raise money for the baseball team. And she's like, Winnie can draw the logo for it. So, that's how Winnie got his number. So then she was, using that to seduce him and stuff like that. let's talk about Mr. Miller's wife. I don't know if they ever said her name.
All I know is she's
an alcoholic.
Well,
she's a writer and an alcoholic.
Yeah. And also doesn't care about her husband, and I'm like, okay. Mm-hmm. And talking shit about him, and planned trips but couldn't go because of her work, and I'm like, mm-hmm. And you complain about him, I'm like, why are you still with him? Mm-hmm. Why could you could have just? And also, why didn't you leave her, you fucking idiot?
Yeah, like it was. To me, it almost seemed like it would have been an abusive relationship with the way that she treated him.
I'm like, leave! I'm like, what the fuck? You guys are idiots and you don't like each other.
You can tell. Because she did call, and she's like, hey, let's go on a weekend getaway together. And he was like, okay, like, where do you want to go? And I guess they were supposed to go to Nashville, because this takes place in Tennessee. They were supposed to go to Nashville, and they didn't.
But all I know is I thought Martin Freeman's Tennessee accent was more convincing, though.
Yeah.
Than, his wife or Jenny, because you could tell she was going in and out of accents.
Yeah. So they were supposed to go on this trip, and they never did. And that was the time. That was the time when Cairo sent her short story, because he gave her a project to do for the midterm, which was write a short story in the based off of her favorite author. So, and like the literary not the subject matter, but like how he writes. He wanted her to write a short story with that in mind. He was just, trying to push her a little bit to, because like I said, like he was giving her preferential treatment because he thought that she was talented. But you could also tell that he was slightly attracted to her because of that. Mm-hmm. So she wrote a short story based off of Henry Miller, which we told you he basically writes corn.
Very much, and
that's what her short story ended up being about.
And you know what fucking happens? Miller goes to his shed, it's kind of like his office, and he pretty much, how can I say this? Spanking the monkey.
Yeah, he,
whacking it.
Yeah, he took care of business in his shed.
And jacking it in San Diego.
He was he wanted to work inside with his wife. But, which we forgot to mention, he somehow got a hold of Cairo's phone.
I think she put it there.
I think so too.
She put that there.
So she called her phone to see who had it. And, well, I don't know, because she was pretty convincing when she was like, when she couldn't find her phone. So, she did call the phone. She found out that Mr. Miller had it. He brought it over to her, and they kissed. I think she said that she was in love with him after that kiss, or something like that.
You sure?
I know that she was fairly attracted to him.
But it was hard to tell if this was like this, because during the scene when he's reading the essay, you can see the fantasy, but the beginning you can't tell if it's actually the beginning of the fantasy or he just drops and kisses her and leave. That's my opinion. Mm-hmm. It was that was confusing.
Well, the way that he was acting, it almost seemed like that he actually had kissed her.
But I don't know. I don't condone what he does.
Yes. Yeah. So then, as he's reading the story, you see the fantasy playing out of what's going on. And he did do something
Jacketed in San Diego.
Yeah, and he went to school the next day, and he basically told her that it wasn't appropriate and that she needed to rewrite it and use a different author. And she's like, well, you told me to write from like an author that I like or that I respect or whatever. And he was like, yeah, I wanted you to use the literary works, not the subject matter. So he basically rejected her.
Yeah, and she didn't.
She did not take that well.
Yeah, and this is the other half of the movie that I fucking hate. It's like watching one of those YouTube channels of a girl, like if a guy rejects a girl because she's acting like a, I don't know, slut, whore, or even the B word, she gets pissed and treats him like shit.
Yeah, so, she decides to exact her revenge on him, which was she put the letter, or the short story, into the vice principal's mailbox. And,
yeah, let's just say it. Well, before that, her and Wendy didn't like Winnie. She tells she doesn't like it.
You can tell they're both, you can tell Cairo's upset because they're drinking.
Yeah, and because she got rejected, so they had the idea, then pretty much falsely accuse him just to ruin
of having a relationship together.
You see my point what I'm getting at, y'all?
Well, don't forget that Winnie sent Mr. Fillmore a picture of her and Cairo making out.
Yeah, and yet, yeah, and
he didn't take the bait though, and he did delete those pictures.
Yeah, it's still inappropriate to have a student's phone number.
Well, I mean, yeah, but that was
because
they were making a logo for his business, which is why she had it.
You know what's even worse? Miller shows the store to his wife, and they were starting to make out to it.
Yeah. So his wife apparently liked it a little bit, but then when she found out that he could be in trouble for it, he totally didn't. She was pissed because she was like, "Did you fuck her?" And he was like, "No," which he didn't. Cairo was just upset that she had been rejected. So when they go into the principal's office to talk about it, he's like all over the place because he's nervous. But Cairo is calm and collected. So who are you going to believe? The student who's calm and collected or the teacher who's flustered?
Yeah, but here's the thing. If you're going to treat someone like who's guilty, they're going to act guilty, act flustered. That's like 101. Mm-hmm. Then again, I don't trust the people who are calm and collected. They're really easy liars too.
Yeah. So he did get suspended from his job. And Winnie goes over to Cairo's house and she's like, "What are you doing to Mr. Miller?" And she told Winnie, she's like, I can't remember what she said, but she was basically saying, I think she basically said something along the lines of being rejected and that this was going to be like her greatest accomplishment ever. And Winnie's like, I'll testify against you. And she's like, no, you won't. And she was basically intimidating Winnie, who's, supposed to be her best friend.
And also love her.
Yeah. And then they get up on the bed Cairo gets up on the bed, stands up on the bed, and she starts reading her essay that she's going to send. And the ending finds her walking up the steps to the school board building, and I'm assuming to testify against Mr. Miller. And he's sitting there on the stairs waiting for him. Waiting. She sees him, and she starts to cry. Mm-hmm. But I also think that him and his wife divorced, or were going to get a divorce.
Yeah, and pretty much the movie ends there. And before we all get hate comments, I'm sorry what I said earlier, but you guys, I don't condone what Miller does. I don't condone what Jenny did. Both of these stories were terrible. What they did was horrible. One, he should never had her phone number. Two, never give her special treatment. Three, she shouldn't be acting buddy-buddy towards teachers. You can be friendly, but you gotta remember there's a difference between student and teacher relationship. And also, do not falsely accuse people.
Yeah. So, I mean, I did enjoy it. And I think it was just because of the drama aspect of it, because I do like drama.
I don't know. I think it needed a better ending.
I believe it needed a better ending too.
One of them should have killed each other or something.
Oh no!
It would make sense.
I would have liked to have seen a better resolution than just him being suspended and him possibly losing his job from being in possibly being fired. I would have liked to have seen what actually would have happened to him.
I don't know. To me, I just think one of them was going to kill someone. That would make more sense.
I mean, to be completely honest, I thought that somebody probably would have killed someone too.
I thought
Cairo. I thought Cairo would have been the one to kill somebody, because she starts off as kind of like this sweet, innocent girl, and then she turns into a psychopath.
Yeah, and because she wants something to do more. But because you're a rich kid who didn't have to struggle in life and you wanted to stand out.
Yeah, she was trying to get into Yale, I do believe.
I thought it was Princeton.
No, because she said Yale.
Well, it doesn't matter. She can afford Yale. She's got the grades for Yale.
But just because you got the grades doesn't necessarily mean that you can get in.
Oh.
Because you do have to, because just like Harvard, they only take a certain amount of people in.
By falsely accusing a dude to get in?
Well, what are you going to do? But
that's kind of dumb.
Yeah. I mean, if y'all want to see, like, something, like, really fucked up, then check out Miller's Girl. It's on Netflix.
4 out of 10 from me.
I probably give it like a 7 out of 10.
And it also was too rushed.
It was too rushed. Yeah, there were some things that made it rush. So there is actually, it got like a 29% on Rotten Tomatoes. Hold on, let me pull it up real quick.
But truth be told, I felt this was a Reddit story.
I mean, yeah. Okay, so the tomato meter, so from critics, gave it a 29%. Audience gave it a 45%. So it's so this one, despite a pair of talented stars and a central concept with a certain amount of real-world relevance, the narratively superficial Miller's Girl rings hollow. And then it this critic says, what cannot be denied is that the film is well shot and that Ortega, like Freeman, fulfills their roles without much fault, which for many spectators will be more than sufficient. And then this person says, Jenna Ortega and Martin Freeman cannot save Jade Halle Bartlett's romantic thriller Miller's Girl from falling victim to its excessive ambition. So to me, it kind of played off as like a revenge corn story without the corn. That's how it played off to me, because
to me it plays off like those freaking Reddit stories where a family accuses a family member, and
that too, yeah.
That's how I felt. And truth be told, I didn't like it. I didn't like it how it represents. And also, the whole accusing a guy doing this was kind of dumb.
Well, I mean, that happens in the real world.
Yeah, and I get it. And I'm like... And half the time, I'm like, dude, you're a teacher. You shouldn't be doing this crap.
Mm-hmm. Well, like I don't think he had any intention to act on anything. Because he definitely he was definitely attracted to her, but I think that was because of her talent. But because every time his wife would ask him, well, is she pretty? And he wouldn't really give her a clear answer because he knew it was wrong. Because you could kind of, after he read her story in the shed, after he jacked it.
In San Diego.
You could definitely tell that he was disappointed in himself. I mean, I would be too if I did that.
Well, in my opinion, it was not a good movie. It was, some of the teachers acted really inappropriate. And, there's a difference between inappropriate teachers outside school talking about, screwing their wives or what porn they watch. But this was they were almost hitting on students.
Yeah, well, I mean, at least Fillmore was trying to distance himself from Winnie. But, which Winnie was also another one of the top students. Like, she had a 4.4 GPA. And, Cairo had the 4.6. So they were smart girls. They made dumb decisions.
Yeah, but still, I get she wanted to go to Yale, but be lucky you go to a college at all.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's our review on Miller's Girl. Mike didn't like it. I liked it to a certain extent. But, it's whatever. So next week's hint is actually going to be Cat Bus.
Yes, a movie I like.
So we will see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.